So today and tomorrow are Rosh Chodesh, the new month of Kislev. Kislev is the third month of the Jewish year. Kislev in general is considered a very special time. Of course, it ends with Hanukkah, which is the holiday of miracles and self-sacrifice for God and God's amazing liberation. But the entire month is actually saturated with Chabad Hasidic holidays. So we actually call this month the month of redemption because there are so many special days of redemption, of course, including the holiday of Hanukkah, and many, many Chabad Hasidic holidays, starting with today, the first day of Kislev, and then almost every day of Kislev has some type of minor holiday, and then we have a few major ones, the 9th of Kislev, and the 10th of Kislev, and the 14th of Kislev, and the 19th of Kislev, and, there you turn, there's another holiday. It's a very special month. There's a lot of power in this month, and a lot of power for redemption. Obviously, we could definitely should have global redemption, and personally, we should have all of our personal redemptions. So as I said, today is Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month. The first day of the month is a very powerful day. You think, oh, it's small, it's just beginning the month, but we're told no, that actually all the energy of the month and all the energy actually of the Mashiach element of the month. This is the most Mashiach day in a month, and it's standard. I'm not saying besides the special days, but of the regular days, the most Mashiach day is Rosh Chodesh. It contains all the energy of the month. It contains the essence of the month. It contains the Mashiach power of the month, and especially Rosh Chodesh Kislev, because we experienced in 1977 that this was the day when the Lubavitcher Rebbe officially we felt was cured from a huge double heart attack that he had on Shmini Atzeres, on the holiday of Sukkot, which means we're talking about 5 weeks before. So towards the end of Sukkot, there's the 7 days of Sukkot, and then there's 2 days at the end, Simchas Torah, called Simchat Torah or Simchas Torah, of which both nights there's very, 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 very joyous dancing. And that year, this is the fall of 77, and a tremendous crowd had come to spend the holidays with the Lubavitcher Rebbe in Brooklyn in 770, which is the central headquarters of the Rebbe. Larger crowd than any year before. It's a tremendous crowd. And the whole month of holidays, the Rebbe was like working hard, like encouraging everyone, uplifting everyone, talking and singing and as we say, fabraining, having Hasidic gatherings, praying, meeting people with private audiences, and really, really pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. The day leading up to Shmini Atzeres, so this Simchat Torah holiday, the last day of Sukkot, which is also a very special day. The prayers are very long, and the Rebbe was encouraging the singing during the prayers, and then after the prayers, he spent hours giving out honey cake symbolizing a sweet year. So the Rebbe would give out honey cake several times during the Tishrei holiday season. And you're only supposed to get it once, but if you didn't get it before, you come, okay, and then other people ran, 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 and every time, so to speak, the Rebbe thought he finished the line, more people ran that had never gotten yet. So literally, the Rebbe got to his own home just like minutes before the holiday, which means he had no time to eat, no time to drink. Long prayers, hours of giving out honey cake and blessings. And of course, it's not just giving it out. It's a very, the Rebbe is giving himself to each person and connecting to each person and blessing each person for hours and hours and hours. And then back to the synagogue for the prayers and for the dancing. We have the 7 hakafot, 7 circles of dancing. And the Rebbe traditionally would do the first and the 7th. And the Rebbe did the first with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. The Rebbe back to his place, and there's a second and the third. And in the middle of the 4th hakafa, this 4th round of dancing, the Rebbe suddenly, the Rebbe's standing the whole time and encouraging it. He suddenly, leans over on the prayer stand where he's standing. He leans over, and then he, quickly asks for a chair, and he just sort of slumped down into the chair. You have thousands and thousands and thousands of people in the room, and all the eyes are on the Rebbe, and suddenly everyone's like what just happened? And the Rebbe never sits down by the dancing, and the Rebbe's encouraging it, and with his encouraging, lifting up thousands of people to heights of joy, and suddenly, everybody knew this was really bad. And quickly, the place emptied out, and they wanted to quickly rush the Rebbe out, and the Rebbe was like, no, we're in the middle of hakafas. We can't go in the middle, can't leave. The Rebbe insisted, gotta finish. We did the 5th, did the 6th, now the 7th, the Rebbe's supposed to dance. The Rebbe traditionally dances the 1st and the 7th. And they said, okay, no, no. The Rebbe said, no, no, I have to dance. And they said, okay, well, dance here in your place. The Rebbe said, no, you have to dance by where the Torahs are. And the Rebbe went there and they danced. In the middle of this, the Rebbe was having a massive heart attack, and the Rebbe forced himself to do this, came back, and he went out, and then the doctor wanted him to eat something. They said, you have to make Kiddush. You can't just eat. Or you have to make Kiddush in a sukkah. Well, you're not going to eat outside a sukkah, because that night we still eat in a sukkah. And then they brought the Rebbe grape juice, because they understood. And the Rebbe said, grape juice? You can't make Kiddush on grape juice. He needed wine. It was just amazing, this sense. Now, obviously, we're not the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And obviously, if someone is going, and later they said it was like an unbelievable heart attack, and then he had a second, like 2 massive heart attacks. But I think there's lessons we see in this. I think there's lessons in terms of, so to speak, like for each one of us, and each one of us it expresses itself differently, our moral fiber, our moral backbone, our sense of like, this is how you have to do it. It's sukkahs, and we eat in a sukkah. We make Kiddush on wine, not grape juice. And we finish all the 7 hakafas. I dance by the 7th hakafa. I dance not by my place. I dance where the Torah is. Like, again, for us, obviously the examples will be very, very, very different. And obviously, by us as just regular humans, if a person's in the middle of a massive heart attack, they do whatever is needed to do for their life, and they don't need to push themselves in this way. But decontextualizing all that, I think it's a very big image for us, a vision for us of sticking to our principles, sticking to what we believe in, sticking to as we understand God's will, sticking to as we understand what God's demanding from us. And sometimes there could be situations where the person could be exempt, or other people could think he's exempt, or people could say, why are you pushing yourself so hard? Not necessary here. Relax a little. But I think this vision of the Rebbe is like, you do what God wants. You do what you're supposed to do. You don't look to cut corners. You look to keep all those corners exactly as they are. I don't know if anyone's had an experience in their life where they had to like push, even though everyone told them not to do what they knew was what God wanted, or the morally correct choice, even though in the situation people were thinking they could find a few loopholes. It's a good vision to know, because I think in life we do have these challenges, and we do have situations where we're like, I could be a little easy on myself here. No, maybe the rest of the world is telling you could be easy on yourself. Maybe you are telling yourself you could be easy on yourself. And it's good to have that vision of like, there's a point in doing it exactly the way it's supposed to be done. Anyway, at this point, continuing with the story of what happened, the Rebbe Secretariat had contacted 4 top heart doctors, 4 top heart doctors in New York. They all came. They all examined the Rebbe, and they all said the exact same thing. He just suffered 2 massive heart attacks, and he has to go to a hospital right now. And the Rebbe said, no. The Rebbe said, he's not leaving 770. He's staying here. And the heart doctors, well, you just have to take him. And they're like, we can't just take the Rebbe. If he says he's staying, he's staying. And they said, well, then we're leaving. And all 4 heart doctors marched off. So here's the Rebbe. It's Shmini Atzeres. You have thousands of Hasidim, the adherents of the Rebbe, outside, not knowing what to do. Some walked all the way to Queens, to the resting site of the previous Rebbe. Some of them continued dancing because the Rebbe sent a message to dance. Some of them obviously were just praying and saying psalms all night. Everybody was up and doing something all night long to create the miracles needed. But on a practical level, here's the Rebbe. He just suffered 2 major heart attacks. They had him hooked up to a heart monitor. They saw it wasn't good. And there was no doctors. They just had some regular, doctors of the neighborhood, but none of them were heart specialists. And all the heart specialists had walked off when the Rebbe refused to go to a hospital. And they didn't know what to do. Should we just force the Rebbe, like against his will, to go to a hospital? What do you think makes sense in such a situation? Not that you have to make this call, but if you had to make the call, the Rebbe is saying he's not going to a hospital. All the doctors said he must go to a hospital and left. So he has just suffered 2 major heart attacks. His heart is on a monitor. It looks very bad. What would you think he would do? What would be your call?
I'd have to respect his wishes as
Even
much
though
as
you feel he's endangering his life?
Yeah, and I'd be so fearful for him, but he's got the right to make his own decisions. But it would be very difficult. It would be such a hard situation to be in.
What do you think? Any other thoughts? Dixie, Danielle, any thoughts on that?
Well, I agree. It's our call. It's not anybody else's call.
So that's exactly, even a greater degree, what the Rebbe's wife, what we call the Rebbetzin, said. So meanwhile, again, the Rebbe had told the crowd, don't worry, go home, eat your holiday meal. If you haven't finished the dancing, go dance with vigor, dance with more vigor. People, and as I said, some marched off to the previous Rebbe's resting place. Some were just saying psalms all night. Some were dancing all night, knowing that the Rebbe knows that the dancing is giving help. And the inner circle of people, they weren't sure what to do. At one point, the chief secretary of the Rebbe entered the room. And the Rebbe knew, I mean, obviously the Rebbe knows these things, that he was going to tell him that the rabbis had issued a legal ruling that he had to go to the hospital. So the Rebbe said to his chief secretary, I follow the instructions of the rabbis, so don't tell me anything, because I don't want to go to the hospital. Like, don't tell me. Whatever you want to say, don't tell me. Meaning as if, like, if you told me, I'd listen, but therefore don't tell me because I don't want to go to the hospital. So he just didn't say anything and left the room. And then in 4 a.m, the head of the Crown Heights, their own, like, medical team, came out and told the crowd to say psalms. So the crowd got more nervous. Some people, some people walked all the way to Queens to pray by the resting site of the previous Rebbe. Other people went to all different neighborhoods in New York to tell them what happened, that they should say psalms. Other people sang psalms, and other people were, as I said, all night dancing. In the early hours of the morning, they saw, based on the heart monitors that the Rebbe was hooked up to, that they have brought, these 4 big doctors have brought heart monitors. So the Rebbe's heart, even though they left, but the heart monitors were being monitored by just regular doctors, and they saw that the Rebbe was going through another heart attack worse than the previous one. Doctors there felt like there's no choice. The Rebbe doesn't want to go to the hospital, but there's no choice. We don't have the ability to give him this care. You can't survive these types of heart attacks. You need to be in a hospital. They just didn't know what to do. The Rebbe's saying no. The doctors are saying, we want to listen to the Rebbe, but we can't do this. During all this commotion, the Rebbe's wife came down. I mean, she was like, in 770, not in that room. And they asked her, listen, I mean, you're the Rebbe, so what do you do? What should we do at this point? We can't make this decision. You make this decision. And the Rebbe said, in all the years that I've known my husband, there's never been a moment that he has not been in perfect control of himself. And in other words, if he's saying he's not going to the hospital, he knows exactly what he's saying. He knows exactly what's the right thing. He knows exactly what's the best thing. Don't take him to the hospital. That's it. So that was it. Like, the decision was made. Sort of like Sabra and Dixie are saying, this is what he wanted. And she's saying even more, he knows, trust me. He knows exactly what he's doing. If he's saying no to the hospital, like, he knows. He needs to be here. The Rebbetzin turned to one of the secretaries of the Rebbe and says, like, so many people, you don't know a doctor for my husband? And then suddenly in his head popped the name of a young cardiologist in Chicago. Of all places, Chicago, Dr. Ira Weiss. He said, Dr. Weiss, he's a cardiologist. I know him. He's very good. Called him on the holiday, and he flew on the holiday, and he was met by police that took a police escort straight to 770 on the holiday, and he's rushing in like, this emergency that he was flown from Chicago to take care of. Like, there's no cardiologist in New York, he's flown from Chicago to take care of the Rebbe. And before he's going to rush in to see his patient, the Rebbe says, wait, you didn't eat yet. Come into the sukkah, make kiddush, eat something first. So, you see, even in a crisis, elevated people are always elevated people. I think sometimes in the crisis is when you really see the difference between a really elevated person and the rest of us. And an elevated person never loses who they are. And if you're that type of person, then no matter what's going on, to eat something first. You have to take care of yourself. And this doctor, unlike all the other doctors, he said, you know what? Actually, it makes perfect sense that the Rebbe should stay here. For a regular person, you can't do that. A regular person needs to go to a hospital. But the Rebbe is a person that we can bring the hospital to him. We can bring all the equipment. We can bring all the care. And he says, this way, the Rebbe, if he's in the hospital, who's taking care of him? Here, I'm going to be here. He's going to have his own personal doctor 24/7 with him. This is truly, he's getting the best care. And he's surrounded by his Hasidim, his followers. And he's going to feel that energy and feed off that energy. And this is actually the best place for him. So the doctor said, not just I'm giving into what the Rebbe said, it even makes sense to me. A very special doctor, obviously, to be open to understand that it's not always what's conventional, that's what's correct. I mean, I'm not telling all the history blow by blow. I just want to highlight some things that I think are lessons that we could think about for ourselves and in our own relationship to God. So the next night, now the holiday is a 2-day holiday where both nights are supposed to be this intense joy and dancing, dancing, dancing. So imagine how all the followers felt. Here the Rebbe had these massive heart attacks, and now 770 has become a cardiac ICU unit, and the Rebbe's there, and they're not used to thinking of the Rebbe this way. The Rebbe has perfect health. The Rebbe has perfect vigor. No one thinks of the Rebbe age. The Rebbe's invincible, the Rebbe's the Rebbe. It was just absolute strength, absolute God energy. Yes, he has been working for God all day, all night, every single second, doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, but I mean, he's the Rebbe. Like we don't think of him in human terms, so what difference does it make? And now suddenly he had these massive heart attacks. And the Rebbe said, dance. The message came out from the Rebbe. You want to help me? Dance. Dance with more energy than before. The second night is supposed to be more joyous than the first. So dance, make these hakafos, these circlings, these circles of dances with the Torah, make them more joyous than before. Make them so joyous. I think that must have been very difficult for them to do with what they were feeling, but they knew that. So it's sort of like this, you're torn between tears and dancing. Like you're dancing, and maybe a piece of you is crying, but a piece of you is dancing. And you're supposed to dance, and you're not just supposed to move your feet, you're supposed to be in a state of joy. Any thoughts why the Rebbe would push them? Instead of, you think the Rebbe would say, just say more and more and more Psalms. The Rebbe said, dance. Dance with more joy. Any thoughts why that would be the approach the Rebbe took?
Is it that he wanted them to have a wonderful celebration, even though they were very worried about him?
That could have been a thought, but I was thinking more. Well, anybody else, any other thoughts on it? Why the Rebbe would encourage the joy, the dancing with more energy?
Because it would bring about more answer to prayers
That's how I was looking at it.
and a miracle, perhaps.
I think also the idea is that, what I was thinking, again, the Rebbe didn't explain it, but I was thinking that we say that, and this is, I think I'm stopping at this point because I want to reflect on things that I think have practical application for us. Joy breaks boundaries. Joy is an incredibly powerful tool we have. We mean a godly joy, not a inappropriate joy. That's not joy. But real joy, godly joy, like here, singing and dancing with the Torah and singing and dancing. They were singing and dancing that the Rebbe is healthy, that the Rebbe will be healthy, that the Rebbe is healthy. They took words that, to the tune, the words are Zolshon Zayin de Geula, it will already be redemption. And they switched, instead of redemption, they said health. Zolshon Zayin de Refuah, it'll already be the health. The Rebbe is well. The Rebbe is well. Mashiach is coming. The Rebbe is well. The Rebbe is well. Mashiach is coming. And they danced and they danced, and they were full of such joy that they spilled out of 770, and they danced all around the block. And then they kept dancing and dancing and dancing all night. They were dancing and singing, the Rebbe is well. The Rebbe is well. Mashiach is coming. The Rebbe will be well. The Rebbe will be well. Mashiach is coming. They were dancing this all night. And at a certain point, the doctor asked the Rebbe, or the secretary asked the Rebbe, is all this noise disturbing you? It's very loud all night. The Rebbe said, it's music. It's a pleasant music. And again, the Rebbe didn't explain it, but my thought is, and that's why I want to share this, that joy breaks boundaries. Like we say about a prophet, that a prophet can't have prophecy if he's not in a state of joy. If a prophet needed a prophecy but wasn't receiving the prophetic spirit, he would have people play music in front of him to create joy that he should merit to have prophecy. So there's lots of different ways to smash through God's barriers, and obviously Psalms is wonderful, and I'm all for it, and charity is wonderful, and I'm all for that too. But joy is a very special power we have. A good joy, a positive joy. Again, this was a joy of serving God. This is the call of the hour. Dancing. This is exactly what the holiday's about. We're supposed to dance for 48 hours. So they were doing what is the call of God's hour. They were breaking through boundaries with their joy, and they were having confidence and trust in God. As I'm saying, as they were singing, the Rebbe is well. The Rebbe is well. Mashiach is coming. So we're taking words. They were turning the words slightly of tunes to express their belief and their trust in God. As expressed, look, we're singing, we're dancing, we're trusting you, God. And what is more powerful than trust? That the Rebbe is going to be completely, completely healthy. So I think that's just something for us to remember for ourselves, that sometimes the best way to change a situation is Psalms. Sometimes the best way to change a situation is charity. And sometimes the best way to change a situation is joy and trust. Just start dancing. Sing. Trust. joy, and that can literally shatter barriers. And again, here's the Rebbe saying, as this noisy crowd all night long, literally outside his window, he's the patient supposedly trying to recuperate. He said, this is very pleasant music. This is what Hasidim are. This is very pleasant music. And literally, it went on all night. It was not contained in 770. It was on the streets all night, singing and dancing and singing and dancing and singing and dancing, knowing that this is what the Rebbe wants, that this is creating redemption. In this case, the redemption is the Rebbe's absolute health. It's a beautiful vision. And sometimes we just need to dance. Sometimes we just need to turn to God and be happy and know that itself will make God come through. At one point in the middle of the night, the Rebbe asked one of his secretaries, are they dancing with a lot of energy? And the Rebbe said, and the secretary said, yes, they are. The Rebbe said, go down and tell them they should dance with even more energy. They should continue dancing tomorrow. It's not enough they're staying up all night. And this is obviously the second night in a row they stayed up all night, because the first night they stayed up all night officially we're supposed to be dancing. What's going to be? The second night they all knew what they were supposed to do. They were all dancing. Dance, dance, dance with even more energy, with even more energy, with even more energy. That's going to break through these barriers. That's the message for us. Joy shatters barriers. Rebbe Gerda went down and he told the crowd, and he also told the crowd that the Rebbe seems to be doing a lot better. So everybody was on such a high, and they just kept dancing and dancing. After the holiday was over, from his room, they made a hookup to the big hall of 770, where these thousands and thousands of people that have been dancing and up for 2 nights straight, and they're all there. Before that, the Rebbe had sent down wine of blessing. Traditionally, at the end of the holiday, the Rebbe would give wine to pour thousands of people wine and blessing. So now the Rebbe wasn't doing it personally, but he sent down the wine. So the Hasidim felt, okay, the Rebbe's with us. He's sending down the wine for us. He's sending down the wine. So, okay, this is good. We got the wine. The Rebbe's still blessing us. They kept up dancing. And then the Rebbe spoke. It was after the holiday, so they could make a hookup. And the Rebbe got dressed. He's not in a hospital gown, so to speak. He's in all the official clothing of the Rebbe. And the doctor said, 5 minutes. And the Rebbe said, okay. And then he spoke for 22. The Rebbe spoke about the unity, that even though physically we're separated, the Rebbe's in his room and the Hasidim are all downstairs, but through this virtual situation of the hookup, there's still unity, even if there's physical separation. I think that's a very beautiful point to keep in mind for us with the Rebbe, or in other situations. Sometimes you could be far from someone, but there could be such a oneness with the person, even if there's a physical separation from the person. Like Dixie was talking about in the beginning with her and her husband, that's this type of separation, that you could still be one even though there's a separation. Sometimes with you and a loved one who's wherever, miles away from you, but you can still feel and sense and sometimes know things. And I'm sure we've all had experiences or know of people that have experiences with people they're very close to, that they just know when something happened because of that unity, even if there's a physical separation. And here with us, with the Rebbe, at this point in 1977, and of course what we're experiencing today, could seem like a separation. There says there could be a physical separation, but we could still be absolutely, absolutely, absolutely one. And that's, I think, also a beautiful thing to hold into our heart in various situations in our life, that sometimes physically we seem very far, we seem separated, we seem in different worlds, but we're still absolutely, absolutely one. One thing which I think is important to know is that during the days afterwards, many different things happened. And one thing is that many people all across the world added to do good things to create the healing, and they would write in notes to the Rebbe saying what they did, like what we call nachas reports, good news reports, something to make you feel good reports. I think that's a really powerful thing to remember. I have so many details, but I don't have time, but I think that's a powerful thought. We can do things to improve a situation. Obviously, we do what we can physically, and we trust the spiritual a lot more than the physical. And we should always believe we have the power to make a difference. God runs his world, but we have power. We have power to make a difference. So just as these Hasidim, these followers of the Rebbe, they didn't say, okay, it's in God's hands, and the Rebbe's a very, very, very holy, righteous leader of the generation, and we're sure God will do a good job here. They're positive and sure and confident, and they added with the awareness that when we add, it's also going to help make that difference. We're partners in the process. And whenever something happens in our world, we always should keep that in mind, that we have the ability to create change. Like everything's in God's hands, and God's hands are the best place in the world for things to be. But we have the ability to also be partners in the process and to also make good things happen. And it's good to share good news. They could have said, well, obviously the Rebbe knows everything and the Rebbe knows what we're doing. No, you write in and you tell him. Don't just take for granted the Rebbe knows. Of course the Rebbe knows. You write in and you say, and you write in a note to share good news. Over time, the Rebbe was recovering more and more and more and more and more in this unbelievable fashion. The Rebbe's health improved beyond any of the doctor's expectations, and of course to the absolute joy of all the Hasidim worldwide. And it was just like unbelievable, because the doctors were at his age to go through these massive heart attacks. Even to regain some of his functioning would have been like very good. And the Rebbe not only regained some of his functioning, he regained all of his functioning. 5 weeks since these massive heart attacks, the doctors said that the Rebbe recovered enough that he didn't need constant medical supervision, and he just needed frequent examinations so he could go home, because he had spent for 5 weeks, he had been in 770, in the hospital of 770. So it was Thursday afternoon. That night would be Rosh Chodesh Kislev, as I said today is. And the news unofficially spread all over that the Rebbe was going home. Hasidim knew that this meant the Rebbe's healthy, the Rebbe's well, the Rebbe's back with us completely, completely, completely. And the crowds gathered in front of 770, anticipating that moment when the Rebbe was going to leave the room. And at 7:40 in the evening, now it's Rosh Chodesh Kislev already, it's the evening, the Rebbe left, and the Hasidim spontaneously began singing a song, a tune, a victory march. All the Hasidim all break into the same victory march, and the Rebbe just walked through, encouraging the singing with the energy, just like in the past, sort of giving the message that there's no limits. There's no limits. Then everyone just danced for the rest of the night, and they danced and they danced and they danced. Continued the whole Friday. They're like, this is such a special moment. We have to share the energy and create more godliness in the world. The Hasidim went out on the streets of New York, putting on tefillin with hundreds of Jews and promoting many other good deeds, which again, I think is also a very powerful thought. It's not enough just to celebrate. Take the energy and do something good with it. When something great happens, celebrate, take the energy, and do something good with it. Still at this point, now we're in 2024, and all over the world, Lubavitcher Hasidim are celebrating the Rebbe's health.